My name's José Rodríguez and I'm the Director of Visiting Angels Barnet Enfield. Today I want to discuss with you what happens when a loved one goes into hospital and what you need to know. I also want to discuss why your elderly loved one needs to avoid hospital if at all possible.
Why should you avoid hospital?
If, like me, you've spent a lot of time looking after a loved one and understandably see that perhaps a period in hospital, whilst upsetting, can give you, if you're the carer or the family, a chance to get your breath back, take stock, maybe get on with some of those things that you've left and put on the back burner for ages because you've been too busy. Maybe you're going to consider catching up with your own family whilst they're in hospital before you get back to the task of caring or managing for the care of your loved one. But think again. It's not as simple as that, and certainly isn't easy, that break. And I'm sure many of you know you will have already spent plenty of time going back and forth, probably spending a good first 12 hours in A&E before your loved one gets their bed or gets into the ward. Sadly, I say this with experience, and certainly not to criticise the NHS, but it's just how it goes. So firstly, the simple answer is the reason why you want to avoid hospital is because the elderly manage, recover and react far better at home than being in a strange setting. It is as simple as that. More importantly, hospital is and can be a very dangerous place for the elderly as they get frailer. They'll be far more at risk in picking up something else whilst in hospital than actually recovering just from what they went in for in the first place. Now, obviously, this means it will take longer for you or for your loved one to recover from, often at many times way beyond the stay in hospital, which is why the suggestion of try to avoid it if possible. The risk of stay in hospital can lead to a number of things, including deconditioning syndrome. This happens with prolonged bed rest and loss of muscle strength and can be quite serious.
What other conditions can be picked up whilst in hospital?
Certainly, pressure sores, grade 3 or grade 4 pressure sores carry a risk of complications of their own, including death, even with the best care in place, so they need to be avoided. Inpatient falls are incredibly common. Delirium, even more common in hospital, usually undiagnosed 2/3 of the time. Complications of tests and treatment as your elderly person waits to find out what is their ailment. Physical and mental negative effects. Well, whilst in hospital, your loved one is likely to move 5% of muscle mass per day. Lack of motivation, maybe more likely to be constipated, incontinent, and have a reduced appetite. Healthcare infections, usually on average 1 in 11 can get an infection whilst in hospital. I'm sure that statistic varies. Respiratory infections used to be the highest, along with MRSI and COVID, and urinary infections. And again, those things will change. Infections in hospitals do lead to an increased stay, on average by about 17 days. Reduced mobility whilst in hospital across the back, the head, the shoulders, the elbow, the buttocks and heels is also going to affect all of those areas. Scans lead to more radiation in the body. Surgery, all of those lead to more increased lengths of stay. Polypharmacy, which I've mentioned before, 8.4 million in the UK take more meds than they should. And obviously it's worth noting that excessive meds can, as we get older, affect us and hit us even harder. Adverse effects such as dizzy spells can make you unsteady. Likewise, medicine that you're taking, whether it's in the hospital or not, can be masquerading a new problem or hiding an old one.
How should one make it safe for admissions?
Well, if someone is going to be in hospital, certainly make an effort to get them to sit out of bed and in a chair. If the nurses, etc., are too busy, do your best to help them or support them. Try to encourage normality and definitely aim for short lengths of stay. It's not a holiday for them or for you. Improve their strength and balance. Maybe do activities with them, games or physical ones to try to get them up. Dietary considerations, bring some food in. Ensure that there's good pressure care on those beds to avoid any ailments.
So what do you think you should take to hospital?
There is an exhaustive list. You can probably get more online. But aside from the obvious clothing, maybe some non-slip socks if they're not provided, pull-up pads in case the hospital don't have the ones that your loved one might like, and obviously their medicines, you might want to take some entertainment devices that they like or react to, whether it's electronic or non-electronic, puzzles and paper and pens, clock with a date and numbers so they can keep a concept of time, maybe their hearing aids to stop them from zoning out, personal items such as pictures and photo books, all good to help encourage normality, really important. But for me, probably one of the most important things to bring is a record or a written note specifying the baseline of your loved one's physical and mental health before they were admitted, with a clear guidance as to what has changed since their admittance. I'd probably print this out and have a number of copies and keep handing it out, because upon arrival at hospital, either you or your loved one is likely to be measured by hospital staff using what they call the Frailty Index scoring or an equivalent. Now, this is more of a judgment-based frailty tool that assesses the person's illness, function and cognition, their thinking, their understanding, to generate a frailty score which ranges from 1, which is very fit, to 9, terminally ill. So by using external notes, whether they've come from the ambulance crew, the care home or the care agency that's been writing those notes, if they've done every call visits, if they're available, they will evaluate the patient's baseline quickly so as to be able to react to their condition speedily, in a speedy manner. Certainly at Visiting Angels, we are working on trying to support all our clients and the NHS alike by trying to work within the Frailty Index guidelines and to kind of have a passport style of notes to share with the hospital and to be able to provide the necessary information as soon as we hear of an admittance of one of our clients. But certainly what you can do as a family member is, and let's be honest, given the number of hands that your loved one will be passed from as they get moved from ward to ward and doctor to doctor, their baseline health can be missed as they get moved down the chain. When they come into hospital, were they always that dizzy, or confused, or frail, or were they driving only a week ago? The hospital team need to know that. They need to know what normal looks like in your loved one and what has changed in their physical and mental behaviour. How much of that is new? How much of that is their baseline from before? They will not know. So don't let them sign your loved one off at a higher score along that frailty score if that's not their true baseline. Their high score could be a higher score and could be temporary and the very reason that they are presenting in hospital. Now, from personal experience, my mum went into hospital because of a fall through partially being dehydrated, which could have been avoided, and she stayed in for longer to regain her mobility, and she ended up coming out of hospital with delirium and other issues. It was missed, and only once that I shouted more about her baseline health, or more that I understood that it was important, that it was identified as a new condition that she'd picked up and it was treated. Now, to be clear, this is not a moan about hospitals or about hospital staff, because they do a great job under a lot of pressure. But this is more about what you can do to support and work with them so that they can find out what is the actual problem with your loved one when they arrive into their care. Thank you for listening, and I hope you found this video useful and beneficial to you. Please don't forget to check out some of the other themes that I've covered in this series of videos. Thank you and goodbye.